Hey, hi Shannon, hi Laura.
Hello.
Hi, hi.
Hello.
So we've got just like we're early, so we'll just have a few minutes, right?
Yeah, we'll probably start in like 5 minutes, kind of give people a little bit of time to join and find their links. And
I'm admitting people. Markeith isn't joining. Kate Walton,
Good. Hey, Kate.
Jackie Bradshaw is joining.
Hi, Jackie. Hi, Kate.
Hi.
Hey, Kate White, how are you?
Oh, you're still on mute, Laura.
I know, but I can't.
Oh, Laura, hi. Good.
Cool,
Nice to see you here.
We're trying to do this like we've got both of our computers here, and then we're trying to make sure it doesn't give feedback. Okay, there.
Hi, Kevin. Yeah, we'll get started in probably like 4 minutes. We'll just kind of wait a little bit longer for people to show up. I know. I love seeing all the art. Your second page. Thanks. Just start. Hi, LK. Awesome.
Okay.
It's just a couple more minutes, then we'll get started.
I think we've got 12 people right now.
Yeah, okay. And you'll
I'll just
all right. So Laura's going to continue to let people in. So I'm just going to get started. So first off, I just thank everyone for being here, for all the attendees and all the artists. It's really great to be able to see you all from all over the world and get to talk with everyone. So just really appreciate that everyone's here today. And just a little quick housekeeping. We're going to have everybody muted for the duration of the presentation. And you can put questions in the chat for the artist. So we'll kind of, the format of this will be, we'll focus on certain pieces by the artists who are present. And then you can ask questions to the artists after they kind of talk a little bit about the piece. And so if you have questions specifically for that artist, we will ask them kind of in their section. That makes sense.
And can they just put them in the chat?
And you can put them in the chat. That's the best place to put them. And Laura will be moderating that. So she will ask your questions for you.
That sounds so official.
So yeah, welcome to Zinc Contemporary's virtual gallery tour of Vim. Okay, so for some quick introductions, Zinc is a contemporary art gallery with a reputation for curating compelling exhibitions, championing highly talented artists, and collaborating with collectors to cultivate an aspect of curiosity within their collections. Founded and curated by Laura Zeck in Seattle, Washington, Zinc Contemporary exists to make women in the art world not only visible, but successful, while making art collecting an experience of connection and fun. My name is Shannon Bodrogi. I am the gallery associate here at Zinc, and I curated Vim. I have a BFA in printmaking from San Francisco State University, and I've curated a number of shows around Seattle and San Francisco. Just want to say I'm very grateful to all the artists and contemporary for making Vim a reality. So yes, thank you. Okay, so what is Vim? Vim is a word that originated in the 1800s, and it's usually seen with a redundant counterpoint vigor. So vim and vigor is a common phrase. Both mean vitality, strength, exuberance, high spirits, and an infectious energy. So in isolating the word vim, we wanted to focus on its vibrational sound and the energy that the word has, and especially in its relation to winter, so a time of underground energy, when there's a lot of dormancy and rest and hibernation on the surface, but also activity and growth and resilience in many forms, many unseen. So for this exhibition, we have partnered with some fantastic artists who exemplify this idea. They cover many spectrums ranging from outsider artists to established and abstract to figurative, and they really show the many ways you can take on this broad theme. So we have 11 works in the exhibition, and today we'll focus on 5 with the artists that we have present. We'd like to introduce Kevin Muñoz, Genevieve Leavold, Joy Taylor, Jackie Bradshaw, and Justin N. Kim. So thank you all for being here today. And just a reminder, the show does end today. So this is a great opportunity for you to see the exhibition. However, we will keep the online virtual gallery open through Sunday at 5 p.m. So you still have some time to look at it at your own leisure. All right, so I will now get started and share my screen. All right. Okay. All right, so welcome to the exhibition. I'm going to do my best to go slowly so nobody gets whiplash from the video. So you can see we've got the room here with all of the works. So it's pretty fun to be able to have a virtual exhibition, gotta say. All right. So the first piece we're going to look at is Justin N. Kim's Springtime in the City. This piece is 18 by 24 inches. Justin N. Kim is a Korean-born abstract painter who lives and works in Los Angeles, California. He has an MFA from California State University, Northridge that he received in 2018. He is an abstract and color field painter and has exhibited in 2022 with George Billis Gallery in LA and was published in the magazine Friend of the Artist, Volume 15. And his work is collected worldwide. So I really love the colors and the vibrant patterns and the crisp and textured shapes in this piece, and this promise of spring and the feeling of just kind of awakening that I feel when I look at this piece. Justin, I know your process is very laborious. How did you go about making this piece? I'll mute myself while you talk.
Are you there, Justin?
Are you able to unmute, Justin?
Did he fall?
Hello?
Okay, there you go.
Testing? Oh. Okay. Take two. So about my process, because I work in hard edge style, I use a lot of tape. So like predominant tape that I use is generic masking tape, and sometimes I'll use a how do you say stencil tape, I suppose. That's what it's called. So I'll just tape everything. So each one thing individual thing would require me to tape it off in all four sides and then just like screed the paint and then peel the tape off and then wait for the paint to dry. So when I have colors next to each other like this, unless I kind of like wing it, which I do all the time, which I'm really a fan of, sometimes I'll go like in order too. That's when I have to just wait for the paint to dry. You know, that could be frustrating, which is part of the process. But I think yeah, the taping and then taping off, that makes it more laborious because I can't just finish a painting in one session. So that I guess yeah, that's the most like the challenge part that makes the process difficult. That I'm always trying to like bypass or work through somehow by having a lot of paintings in my rotation. But going back to this piece, yes, you did capture that feeling, like the promise of spring coming, and which I think it does capture with the cool colors in the background and a lot of activities on the bottom of the composition. You know, like a promise of coming up to the surface, which I do enjoy, and I could relate to that. And there's a story behind the piece. It's when I went to New York City for the second time, I went up to this commercial residential building where you're not supposed to go up to, but I didn't know that. And then, you know, when you're on a vacation, you just like, oh, I'm just gonna do it because it's a one-time thing. So it's kind of like trespassing. Anyway, I'm on the 25th, 23rd floor, and it's New York City. So I'm soaking in this view, and I think the feeling that I got, like, oh, you know, that I can't even describe, but I'm trying to express that here through the piece, because I like the cityscape and the activity, you know, when you're looking up from up to down, there's so many, like, you know, so I think that was the feeling that I was trying to go for. And so funny, while I'm up in the building, someone came out, and because we're trespassing, because we're not supposed to be there, this guy, he didn't know what to do because he never encountered like someone trespassing. So he's like, "Can I help you?" And he was shouting, like, "Can I help you? Can I help you?" And that was kind of funny. And there was some excitement there from me and the guy. I
Yeah.
mean, it wasn't exciting, but you know, when you're in like a heating or like a getting yelled at, there's some excitement there, which I think it's in the piece somehow.
Yeah, yeah. And all ties into them.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, somehow in a weird, funny way relates the theme.
Love that. Wow, thank you so much. Yeah, that's a great story. And really just, yeah, I love it. Makes me love the piece even more.
I have
I have a question here.
Genevieve asked, colors from memory or reference?
Were you able to hear that?
Yeah, memorial reference. I think it's both because I work in abstract, I don't there's no like a visual photograph for me to reference. And like I said before, I'm a big fan of like just winging it. So there's no, not only there's no visual reference for me to like look and then start from, I'll just do one thing, like a random thing, depending on how I'm feeling that day and time. And I don't know what that first thing will be. So that's the exciting part. So first step is put down randomly, and then the next is built up also randomly. So because there's no system, it's all random, and like I never know, which adds to the excitement, I suppose.
Definitely.
Earlier when we were getting on the call, we were talking about how we're doing a virtual exhibition, and then you're in LA and the piece happens to be hanging behind you.
Yeah. And I don't know if we have time to like for me to just hog the but yeah, there's a like a texture element that my work incorporates that not a lot of will come through just looking at the phones and stuff. But I feel like when collectors, they have the piece in front of their eyes, they go, whoa. And
Your computer
yeah,
camera?
let's do that.
Can you let him
so-
share screen?
Yeah.
He should be able to share screen now. I've already set it up.
Cool.
But you'll have to stop sharing it.
I pause sharing.
So there is a lot of texture happening and a lot of activities going on. Oh. Yes. So these are all heavy paint application. So we don't see any like brush strokes or like the canvas coming through the paint, So which I really enjoy. So, and also the ripping of the paint, which is not planned, but will also happen as part of the process as the tape grabs onto the paint and peels it off. I feel like this is very exciting in all my pieces. So thank you for letting me share that.
Thanks for sharing it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so then you should go back.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Okay. So share screen again. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Justin. I really appreciate all that you had to tell us about your process and the story behind it, and just be able to show us the piece up close. So thank you so much for that. All right. Oh, no. There we go. So the next piece that we have to focus on is going to be Joy Taylor's Reflected Banana number 12. And this piece is 16 by 16 inches. In Joy's work, life is never still. Her sought-after work has been commissioned by the MTA Arts for Transit program for multiple public transit stations. She's received the Pollock-Krasner Foundation grant
Am I muted?
and is a NYFA painting fellow. Joy Taylor lives and works in Red Hook, New York. So I love how this piece is a still life, but there's so much motion and energy within it. It really doesn't feel like she says, it doesn't feel still. This is part of a series of reflected banana portraits. And I'm really interested by the decaying banana and the cut flower, kind of this juxtaposition of life and growth, and then this also decay and death, and just kind of this juxtaposition between the two of those ideas. So Joy, I know that you're inspired by 17th century Dutch pronkstivens, or still lifes. Can you tell us more about the use of bananas as a common theme?
Thanks, Shannon. Yeah, sure. Bananas are attractive to me because they are so mutable over their life period. We all know how they change appearance drastically from the moment when you bring them home from the store, when they're maybe entirely green. If you go to my supermarket, you can hardly get them ripe. And then you just put them there and wait, and they transform themselves completely into black, purple. They have these blooms of dots that transform the surface into these pattern maps of ripening that's going on within. And so they're in themselves extremely dynamic. And they're also a fun shape to use in a still life because because they're so different from many of the other elements that I tend to use in these still lives. And this series is always the same and always different. It's always a single vase with maybe one or two flowers or stalks or branches in it, and a curved base, which is the edge of the table or the edge of the world. And because the piece is square in format, the composition has to be really dynamic. So things are always just on the verge of falling, collapsing, tilting, and changing. And those compositional elements help give the feeling of vim to the pieces that I'm making. And so, you know, I've been working on this series for close to 10 years now. And in every one that I do, I try to do it differently. So originally, when I started including the bananas in the still life setup, the banana would be where you would expect to find it, which would be on the table, either in front of or behind the vase. And it would reflect inside the vase, the peculiar shapes of the vases and the way water tends to make things look floaty and weird, would be inside the vase. And then as the series progressed, the bananas began to kind of move around, and I got more and more interested into how a banana looks different if it's out on the table, but inside the vase at the same time. And so the bananas began to be more and more reflected. And in this case, the banana has disappeared entirely into the vase, and you can't see anything that isn't in the vase. And even the white flower on the right-hand side partly is in front of the vase, partly is behind the vase, partly is inside the vase. And it has a kind of an ambiguous role of holding up the right side of the composition and preventing the whole thing from falling over completely to the left.
Awesome.
I love that. Wow.
I just want to mention that Zoom makes Kunst Matrix not so exciting in terms of color. Like when Justin popped into the screen and was sharing his studio, you could see the difference in color. I think when you're actually in it and you're not on Zoom, you see more of the details and you can get really in there. So I just wanted to mention that so that you guys, whoever is watching this if they have the opportunity to jump into the Kunst Matrix live virtual exhibition afterward, you'll be able to see much more detail. And Joy's work also has that just crispness when you see it in person. It's just lovely. So anyway.
Yeah, thank you. All of my compositions, whether it's in this series or whatever size and shape the canvas I'm working with, they're all improvisational. So I don't make a pre-painting sketch. And part of the reason why things get so crisp is because they need to be painted over and over again as they change their position in the composition. So yeah, I'm very devoted to how shapes get created by making edges of things in front of and behind other things, and how that creates an illusion of space and movement, where you can have things like a blobby kind of green something or other, or a bunch of X's that stand for something natural, something that's happening, something that's very, very sharp and clear, but yet you still can't really say what it is exactly.
Beautifully said. I feel like, I don't know, just, I love your work. It's
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so pleased to be involved in the show. Yeah.
Being part of it.
It's exciting to see the big pieces behind you too, Joy. Looking forward to seeing us in person.
Yeah.
Soon.
Come.
In the works.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions too in the chat?
I don't know. Let's see. Genevieve says it's great to see the textures. I think she was talking about Justin's pieces. I don't see any questions right now.
Okay.
Let's go to the next artist.
Here, I have just a comment for Justin, if I may. I really like your paintings, and it's quite interesting because I lived in New York for a long time, and you have combined that combination of grittiness and ethereal nature that's so present on the streets in New York City, where down below there's huge amounts of activity and light and chaos, and then up above there's this illusion of serenity and peace and the buildings up above. So you've captured both what it looks like on the ground and, you know, the incredible amounts of trash and garbage that are always out on the street that make the texture of New York City so unique and so beloved by artists. So it's a really spot on description of what it's actually like on the street in New York. So congratulations.
So true.
That's great.
Yeah.
Katrine says your structure in the picture is so straight. It's unbelievable that you don't have a sketch before. That would have been to Joy.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Yeah. All right. So our next piece, I'll move quickly. Okay, there we go. All right. So our next piece here is Honey Mustard Flora by Kevin Muñoz. And this piece is 12 by 16. It's also framed. We have it here unframed, but it did have a really nice wooden frame around it. So Kevin is a self-taught artist, and in his work, he explores concepts of identity, longing, and growth. He has a design background, which informs his practice, as well as the upbringing in Southern California to Guatemalan parents. He currently lives in Austin, Texas. So this piece has a very invigorating palette, and it really has this feeling of hope that inspires for me. It reminds me of watering my garden during the summertime and just the wonder and excitement that I feel when I see things growing. So it really kind of fit within Vim for me because it, you know, again, kind of, I feel like a part of winter is like daydreaming about what the rest of the year will be like. So it kind of brought those feelings up for me. I also really like the sharp lines and the vivid colors in this piece. So I am curious, Kevin, about if you can tell us more about your design background and how that does inform your process in making, especially in making this piece.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Yeah, so specifically with this piece, or I guess more broadly, I have been exploring these these like mountainous landscapes with sort of abstract elements. And you know, and so a lot of it comes from sort of my upbringing in Southern California with mountains in the distance. I currently live in Central Texas, where there are 0 mountains in the distance, but a lot of, you know, some hills. And but I think it all comes from just sort of longing for for the memories of those mountains. It was always beautiful growing up and looking off in the distance and seeing all the texture and shape. And so with this piece, yeah, I think that very, very rarely do I actually create pieces based on actual mountainscapes or landscapes, and I have, but this one was just kind of a I'll draw really small. I'll draw like sort of thumbnails, and even my process is in that way is sort of designed in my design practice that I was taught, in that you thumbnail, you sketch small for you know, logos or whatever the task is, and then you sort of blow that up once you're happy with it. And so sketching small, like I stumbled onto some shapes that I enjoyed, and I thought, I don't know, there's something so organic to them too. I mean, they're clearly some sort of, you know, mountain, or a lot of people think it's torn paper and that sort of thing, but I really get in there. Once I have a sketch that I'm happy with, I draw it on a wood panel. I'll have masking paper on top, and then cut along edges, and remove pieces, and paint within the shape. And so that just gives me a lot of freedom. It is a very confined sort of process, but once I'm in there painting, and like it almost feels like its own piece in every shape. And so yeah, a lot of masking in my work. And so I think that comes from a lot of the design work I had been doing more recently too, just a lot of masking and you know, textures. And I don't know if people are familiar with Adobe software, but you can really kind of go nuts. And in my practice, being a self-taught painter, I wanted to sort of distance myself from design in the sense of using a computer or sketching. I used to like sketch paintings in the software, and even that became sort of annoying. So I needed a break away from that. But in a lot of ways, the work I do is still just so rooted in my practice, in that old design practice that I have. And yeah, so that's kind of where this piece ended up. And like you were saying, it is a sort of homage to the fall season, and when things turn sort of you know, brown and orange and sort of crisp, and a sort of precursor way of winter, you know.
That's beautiful. All right.
I don't have any questions right now, so.
Just keep, if folks think of things, you can put them in, and then we can come back to it later at the end too. All right. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Kevin. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. So our next piece is review. All right. So this piece is entitled Ice Throne. It is 18 by 24 inches, and it is by the artist Jackie Bradshaw. Jackie is a folk and outsider artist based in Kitchener, Ontario, Canada. She works from a small corner in her living room, and she identifies as a homebody, environmentalist, an endometriosis warrior, and a neurodivergent person who deals with a lot of physical and emotional pain. Painting really helps her with this, and she hopes that her artwork brightens up your day as it does hers. The colors in this are just so exciting for me. I love that bright orangey red and the blues. I love how everything is kind of anthropomorphized, where you just see faces in the trees or in the moon, kind of all over the place. It reminds me of a Queen Tarot card or like a Chilean applique tapestry, just in kind of the maximalism of the piece. And it just in general energizes me looking at it. So it really felt like it fit the theme of Vim of just being so exciting and energizing. Jackie, will you tell us a bit more about the story behind Ice Throne and a bit about how you came to paint in this style?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Ice Throne kind of came about as, well, I'm a 41-year-old lady who has a lot of hot flashes, and going through that time, you know, it goes along with the endo. So I just pictured one day, and also in the winter, I actually go out and sit on a homemade ice throne. So after I do some shoveling, I usually plunk myself down in a snowbank, and it's one of my favorite things in the world to do, just hang out in the ice throne. And sometimes my neighbors are like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, just hanging out, chilling on my ice throne." So that's where that came about. But so that was front and center. I had that girl on the ice throne, and then the bits around it, it kind of, there's the angels in the clouds. I always feel I do have angels looking down over me, and I see faces everywhere I look. I'm one of those people, I think there's a word for it. I don't never know if I can pronounce it, but I think it's pareidolia. And I see a piece of wood, there's like a billion faces in it. I go for a walk in nature, I see all the faces in the trees. So that's just something that's always stuck with me. And so it comes out in my work, obviously. And yeah, the girl at the bottom there, she's one girl with many thoughts all around her. That's the worrier in me right there. And there's a tree person kind of with a lactating river who's got a trumpet player on her just singing up to the heavens. And there's a devil as well. This piece also represents my concerns for the climate crisis, and the rabbits. I think I wrote in my bio or something, the rabbits, the snow hares, I think I called them snow rabbits, which was not accurate, but they represent hope, and it just happened to be the year of the rabbit. And I didn't paint this year, I painted this I think last year, but they represent adaptability and hope for some, you know, a good future for children and stuff, and that there will be changes made. And the unicorn is kind of just the unicorn just ended up there, but I like to think that the unicorn is kind of people's sense of denial on the climate crisis. It's just this legend or this thing that we can just, it exists, but we can ignore it or pretend it's not real. Or yeah, I don't know if that helps. I'm not good with, I paint. This is why I paint, because speaking doesn't come naturally to me.
Great. It was great to hear about all the little parts, because there are so many like little moments within your work that you like, they all feel like they do have their own stories, and you just wonder like, what's this little pot with a snake popping out? And like, you know, kind of, you just get drawn around, which is really exciting and fun with your work.
Thank you.
So what drew her to painting?
So what drew you to painting?
Painting, well, I've always been someone who likes to do creative things. I actually was a songwriter first, I guess, was my first creative pursuit. But I have horrible stage fright, horrible stage fright. So that didn't work out for me. But painting, I really got into painting when I had a home daycare here with my son and my nephew, and I would do painting with the kids, and I would use their leftover paints. And it all started with me making ink blots, where I would try to see what I could see in these butterfly ink blots that I made, and I would trace things out. So lots of my process has to do with that, I suppose. Sometimes laying down the ink or the paint and then pulling things out from it a lot of the time, if I don't have a concrete idea like this ice throne. But yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Love that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being a part of it.
Thanks for being a part of it. Really appreciate you all. All right. So we're going to go on to our last work that we'll be exploring today.
Last but not least.
Yeah. I'm going to kind of flip around. Again, I'm trying to go a little slowly so it's not.
Really good stuff.
Yeah. No motion sickness. All right. So here we have Genevieve Leavold's Luscious, and it is 32 by 32 inches. And I'm not sure exactly what time it is right now in the UK, but really appreciate you being here today with us. And so, yeah, Genevieve is a British abstract painter. Her freeform and organic paintings feature spontaneous gesture, and she's really inspired by Zen, Buddhism, and other philosophies that embrace the concept of universal consciousness. She's exhibited widely in the UK, Europe, and the USA, and has paintings in private and corporate collections worldwide. So I'm really drawn and intrigued by the alternate spelling of luscious for this piece, the title of this piece. I also find that the imagery really vibrates and hums. I think the mix of those kind of cool tones and warm tones, just there's something that really is dynamic and plays together. And there's so much motion, and it just feels vivacious and alive. And it feels like it's kind of unfolding and awakening. So Genevieve, will you tell us a little more about why you titled this piece as you did and how you think it relates to the theme of Vim?
Yes, thanks. Thanks for the introduction. So I'm from the West Country in the UK.
Hey, Genevieve.
Yeah.
We can hear you. I think you might need to turn up your volume.
Oh, sorry. Let me see. Not very Zoom. Is that better?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe I'll take my headphones out. Does that help?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Right. So thanks for having me. The piece. So I'm from the West Country in the UK, a place called Somerset, and this piece is actually from a very sort of short series that I created because I've just moved back to my hometown after having lived abroad in Serbia for the last 8 years, where this language, this sort of flowing organic abstraction developed. So it developed in Serbia, and then this is my first sort of set of paintings when I'm back in the UK, and I've actually moved back to my hometown. And lush or luscious is a word that we use in the West Country to mean something really great. So if someone looks good, you'll say, oh, you look really lush, or that was really lush. And so it's a kind of like a celebratory word for something. And it's part of my language, and it's quite niche to the West Country. And so when I started this series, they're called translations, and they're kind of about me reinterpreting my home space, my hometown, and my home country, having been away for such a long time, and also within my artistic practice, that having developed almost entirely in a foreign country. So I wanted to sort of celebrate little sort of moments of experience that happened when I came back. So Lush and Luscious is this, I came back in May, and I don't know if you know Serbia very well, but it's got very, very cold winters and very, very hot summers. And so it goes immediately from being kind of very grey and very dead to being really awake. Whereas in the UK, there's this kind of slow growth that happens around spring, and it was the first time I'd ever had a garden, and there's all these kind of sort of new things. So Luscious was a translation of my experience of having a garden and watching things grow and kind of, and when you suggested the term Vim, I felt that really connected to this piece in particular. And interestingly, the partner piece of this is actually called Awakening. So it was nice that you used that word.
That's beautiful.
What is your process?
What is your process?
So I paint, this is oil paint, and I work in layers. Again, it's interesting actually, the artists that are all here, there's a real sense of spontaneity in the work, and this kind of pulling away. I know Jason talked a bit about his design background and pulling away from it and like kind of building this spontaneity into the work, and my work is the same. I'm from a theatre background, so like big environments is where I started. I painted scenic painting for a few years when I was younger, and so this sense of wanting a piece that will almost envelop you, and kind of even small pieces that kind of contain you in their world. And so that's my process. That's the kind of starting point, is that I want to create something that holds you in it, whether that's a comfortable place or an energetic place or a kind of, or a soft loving place, depends on the individual piece. But I work spontaneously in this kind of, with big flat brushes, and it's very physical. And then when the layers dry, I glaze and then work into that. But there's no planning, there's no pre-planning of the form, but the palette is kind of, I only work with sort of 3 colors in each piece. So then the palette is formed, but then the way they interact with each other is unplanned.
So you're glazing in between each layer?
Yeah, so if you, I don't know if you can see on this kind of the orange outer sort of shell of the piece, the kind of striations are originally, it's into the black with white, and the black is actually this blue, and I paint into it with white, or like a white mix, and then that dries, and then I glaze it with this orange and the yellow. And then work back into it with the same white and the same blue to bring this, these other forms. So there's 2, I think this one has 3 layers. So there's the black with white, then there's the glaze of orange and yellow, and then there's another layer which creates these, I don't know if you can see, there's kind of softer patterns on top of the larger forms. There's this kind of pulling between the 2 textures, and that's another 3rd layer. That again is built into the second one on top of.
Do you have a piece behind you?
Yeah, so I have, this is a really big one behind me. This is Ephemera. I don't, the light's not great in here, but you can kind of see, I don't know, I can't see myself, so I can't see what you see. Yeah, this is the kind of striation, if you can see that bit, textures. And then again, this is 3 colors. So this is the orange, blue, and this one's even 2, I think, just orange and blue with white. Yeah, but this is very big.
If we were to look across the surface, would we see the impasto of the paint the way that I believe?
No, not really. It's not massively impasto. Because I use a spiked lavender and linseed mix, which makes the paint quite liquid, quite soft, and it means I can work it more fluidly with the brush. So actually, apart from in these very sort of more opaque sections, it's quite, the surface is still quite smooth. And on Luscious particularly, because I use a linen, which is really fine weave, it's almost like painting on leather. And I want to celebrate that soft form of the actual canvas more and more in my work. So it's almost, I almost try and pull away from heavy textured marks. It's more the texture comes from the complexity of the contrast within the color. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I hope I didn't speak too fast.
No, it's
No,
beautiful.
that's great.
Okay, cool.
There are a couple questions. Okay, let's see here. Joy says, the growth is palpable like mushrooms growing underground, gorgeous and mysterious. Katrine says, maybe it is a strange question. How do you spend the time between layers? Isn't it really a long process, especially with oil colors?
Firstly, mushrooms I love mushrooms, and ever since I was a very small child, I've been slightly obsessed with them. And also, so Shannon mentioned that I'm part of my connection is with sort of Eastern philosophies and ideas of consciousness, and there are two factors. So my mom was an RE teacher, so when I was growing up, we had all the books, all the Bhagavad Gita and the Tao Te Ching and the all these stories from different cultures about what humans are within the world. And then on top of that, I've got I'm Irish of descent, so Celtic mythology, and this idea of like we're not so separate from nature, we are part of it, and this idea of animals that become humans and fairies that live in mushrooms. And so for me, the mushroom has always been this halfway point, this kind of strange organism that represents so much medicinally and philosophically and in terms of fairy tales. So that's really cool that you notice those shapes. And in terms of time between paintings, I work on about 5 or 6 pieces at once. So I've always got like a different layer to be building when I'm doing a collection. So as one layer's drying on one painting, I've got 3 others that are at different sort of stage. Yeah, and also small, like I'll do little pieces, and I love sketchbooks as well. So I've got a lot of time for that.
Great.
Thank you.
So Justin says, I didn't know your face background, and now I can see you sort of dancing as you work on bigger paintings.
Yes.
Like big arm movements, smaller movements, each movement conversing with previous marks. And I believe that would be to Jackie. Was that correct, Justin? Although it kind of goes to the big arm movements.
Yeah, it might be Genevieve too. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a nice place to.
Yeah, does anybody else have questions? Everybody's so quiet. There's
So
nothing going on
respectful.
in the chat.
Well, I think this is maybe a good place to say thank you all so much for being here.
Sorry, Shannon, may I say something?
Yes.
Because I just want to say thank you from Germany, because well, I'm a follower on Instagram from Genevieve, maybe Genevieve in front, I don't know. And I just saw the story 15 minutes before it takes place here, and I thought maybe well, I'm just interested, and it was really interesting. Thank you so much, you all, and also especially Jacqueline Bradshaw, because I really feel what you described. It's really nice. So I just wanted to say that. I hope that this is okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Of course. If anybody else wants to say something, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
It feels good to have this connection with all of you, and then to still have the distance is always hard. So.
Yeah.
I'd
Okay.
like to just say thanks for putting on the show. It was amazing. It was a lovely theme.
Thank you. All right. Well, yeah, thank you to all the artists. Thank you to Laura for having me curate this exhibition. Thank you to all of the attendees today. And if you haven't had a chance to explore the exhibition, we do have more, there are 6 more pieces, and we do have additional works as well by some of the artists. So you can see that in this room over here too, but I'll just kind of swing around real quick, the whole thing. And again, the exhibition, this virtual gallery will be open through tomorrow at 5 p.m. All right. Now we've got some more really cool pieces in here. All right, I'm going to hand it over to Laura.
I just say thank you for joining us today. Shannon, thank you for putting together this exhibition. It's been really exciting to see the artists that you've chosen to bring together and kind of get an inside look at what their thought processes are. I just wanted to make a couple of announcements. Thank you for coming to this event today. We're offering as sort of a thank you to supporting this show and our mission, a 10% discount on any of the works that are available. So after we close down the Zoom, we'll shoot out a listing of available works to those of you who've registered. And if you just jumped on from an Instagram link, you can always DM us and we'll send that to you. And that'll include the works in the exhibition that are available, plus the supplemental works that a few of the artists put into the show. Then I just wanted to let you know we have a new website coming out, which we're finally going to flip the switch on, hopefully on Monday. It seems like we've been gestating on it for so long. I also wanted to share a couple of upcoming exhibitions. The next solo we have is going to feature Seattle-based Sarah Moore. These are a sample of one of her paintings. She has recently relocated here after working on a mural for Meta in Bellevue and started working really large. She's a geometric abstractionist. After that, we'll be exhibiting a show by Lynn Flemons, an Australian artist. And so stay attuned to the website and you'll see a preview of those coming up. They're landscapes, really beautiful colors, lots of different textures and mark making involved. She paints plein air out in the varied landscape of Australia. So those are really fun. And then we're going to be in San Francisco for Art Market San Francisco with a couple of our artists. And then in New York in May for Volta, which is another art fair. We'll be doing a solo presentation of works by Ashley Norwood Cooper. And if you guys are around anywhere, we'd love to meet you. Please stop by, say hi. And of course, if you're ever in Seattle, please definitely make sure that you reach out. We would love to talk to any of you in person and share some work with you or a coffee, because that's what we drink here. Anyway, have a great day and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you all.
See you later.
Enjoy your Saturdays.
Thank you. Bye.